Alrighty. We last left off with just like really basic, quick tic-tac-toe program. What we're going to do now is we are going to just look at, if we have a grid already, how to print out stuff around that grid using loops to make it look nice. So we're trying to make this one look like a tic-tac-toe board, but it doesn't take that much imagination to make this just into like a grid, which is what we'll end up doing for our turtle program. So we had A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, just to show like how the different coordinates worked in the last video. But we're gonna blank all of these out because a tic-tac-toe board starts out blank. And then we're gonna work on getting it to print nicely. This is more of a kind of like loop lesson than it is a 2D list lesson, but you know, they all go together, right? This is about making the tic-tac-toe program. So we have our board. It's already made. In the future, we'll get to a point. Why am I talking about the future? Let's get in this video. We have the board. It's already made. So now I want to print out a tic-tac-toe pattern with the crosses, the hashtag, whatever. But if I just print out the board right now, like if I try printing the board, first of all, it's going to show the blanks as like quotes. Second of all, this doesn't look like a tic-tac-toe board. It puts it into one line. So we're going to have to do some work to manually print it out the way that we want it to be printed out, right? Instead of just this line of three things. You could play and be like, oh, I know if I get the first, and the first, that's 3 in a row on the left side, but like, that's lame. Let's play some real tic-tac-toe. So I'm going to start with I'll do this with for loops. I'm going to say for item. Okay. I don't want to call it an item because really the first for loop I'm going through is going to loop through the 3 lists. So maybe I'm going to call this, maybe I'm going to call this, instead of item, sublist. This is like when you're making a for loop, the first thing you make is a variable, right? It's a variable that you're going to use in that loop. It's going to change as you go through it. So I'm naming it sublist just so I understand how my program's working better, right? I could say like cactus and it doesn't matter, except it kind of does because organization and knowing what you're talking about when you're programming matters a lot. So I'm going to call it for sublist in the board. For sublist in the board, we are going to then do another loop. So then this will be for item in sublist. And let's take a look at that. For sublist in the board. So it's going to start at the first sublist in the board, which is a list. So it'll start here. And then here, now I can say for item because I'm going to each individual item in that sublist. And then when I loop back around again, it'll go to the second list and then the third list. So for the item in the sublist, I want to print the item. So here I'll do it and you'll see what my error is. Right now I'm going to print the item and I'm going to print a like bar, a straight up and down bar. But the issue is that the last item will print a bar at the end of it too. And I wonder if there's a way to know. I guess like you have to. All right, well, we'll start with this just so you can see what's going on. So I'm going to print the item. And then I think you say, what is it? End equals, and then I'll say a bar. I'm pretty sure that's how it works, the end thing in Python. So for item in sublist, we printed the item and we ended with a bar. And now when I end the sublist, I'll be back over here in the previous for loop. I hate how the cursor's gone. I don't know if it's my computer or a code sculptor thing now, but like the fact that it's not blinking over there by the J is freaking me out. Why? So then we're just going to do a blank print. And no, we won't do a blank print. Oh, shoot. We're going to do, how many is it going to be? It's going to be blank. So blank, bar, blank, bar, blank. I think that's how many we want. So this will be an underscore, and maybe I should do it as dashes because an underscore is going to be kind of low. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Blank, bar, blank, bar, blank. Oh, you know what? We want to do a little bit past it, a little bit past it. Before here, we're actually going to print just a space, I think. So this is going to print a space, and then it'll go in and print blank, bar, blank, bar, blank, bar. We'll get rid of that last bar in a little bit. This I added an extra bar to the left side, which will go under that blank, and an extra bar to the right side. It'll go past a little bit to make it look more like a tic-tac-toe board. Is that it? Will that print it? That's horrible. That's horrendous. Okay, I see. I know what I need to do. I need to do another print over here. Here's a blank print to get these dashes onto the next line. And then the dashes will go. Ooh. Oh, because you don't. Okay. So here's the issue. First of all, this extra bar at the end we have to deal with because it doesn't look like a tic-tac-toe board. Secondly, all right, and I also have one too many extra bars at the end over here, I think. Yeah. And then after the last, I want to get rid of the end one here too because I don't want to have another cross at the bottom of it. But you can see how there's going to be like boom, boom, boom. There's going to be part of it. And then the next part's going to be over here. Except that I don't want that last one. So now we just need to see, okay, how do we know if we're getting to the end of this, of the list so that I know not to put that last one and I know not to put this last one over here. And unfortunately, I think almost the best way to do this is going to be to do it with while loops, just because I'll already have the variables created. I mean, okay, I won't do it with while loops. We'll stick with our for loops. I'm going to say height, and that is going to be equal to the board. No, sorry, len of the board. And let me try printing out height just to make sure that it's going to give me 3. Yes, it's going to give me 3. Okay. So the height is going to be length of the board. And then over here, when I get into every sublist, because I mean, I know it's a tic-tac-toe board, but I'm building this so that it can work for anything, right? I'm going to say width equals the length of the sublist. And so now I've got two variables holding on to the height and to the width. And what I'll do now is I will also make a counter, and it's going to be equal to, I'll start at 1 because we're using the length. You know, starting at 1 or 0 is a thing. Just make sure you're paying attention to what you're starting with. Starting at 1. And I'm going to start by printing. Why did I start by printing a space? What? Oh, yeah. I started printing a space so that the first, so there's more space to the left of the tic-tac-toe board, I think. Whatever. We started printing a space. For item in sublist, so now what I'm going to say is if counter is less than width, we will do that. We will only print out the bar if counter is less than the width. So we'll print the bar if counter is less than the width, and otherwise we won't. And then just over here, we need to say counter equals counter plus 1. And similarly, we will do a thing over here. So if, do I need to have another counter? Yes, we do. So I have to say item counter equals 1 and list counter equals 1. except the list counter equaling 1 has to go outside of the loop. I don't want to reset it like I did in my other video. All right, list counter is going to be 1, item counter is going to be 1. This stuff is going to be the item counter because we're inside of the mini list. Item counter equals item counter plus 1. Item counter plus 1. And we're going to print a blank. We always want to print a blank line. That's fine. Now we're going to say if the list counter is less than the height, we will print the dashes. Otherwise, we won't print the dashes. And every time we go through this loop, we are going to increase the list counter by 1. Okay. So I added a whole lot of stuff. Let's look at it and see if it prints nicely. I think this looks like a tic-tac-toe board, except it's not like monospaced nicely. Maybe I should make these underscores. So this would be space before, blank, bar, blank, space after. Let's see what it looks like now. That's horrendous. Why is there only one space before it? Shouldn't the first item... I don't know. Okay, and all right, so let's test this out. I'm going to put an X here and an O there and an X there and see if it's making it okay. Yeah. So why is this space... Oh, I'm so dumb. That's why, because this is why there's that blank up there. That's because I didn't do an end. So I'm going to do with an end equals nothing. Is that a thing? Yes. Okay. All right. So we have the blank space in front of it, and then the X. Yeah. Okay. Sweet. So we got it printing. Let me put some comments in here, just as a way to review and summarize at the end of this video, and then also for like future versions of me where I'm looking at this little 11-line double for loop with a bunch of ifs and wondering like, what in the world is going on here? So, height, it gets the height of the board. I think that's reasonable enough. List counter is fine. So this is going to loop through each sublist in the board. I'm going to say list counter variable for not printing extra underscores. And this is going to be a counter variable for not printing extra bar at end of line. I think the width is reasonably fine. This is, I think the print I don't need to say. I'm just going to say the logic for the for statements. So print each item in the sublist with a bar after, except for the final item in the list. Okay. And so that's what this for loop does, right? It goes to every item in the sublist. It will print the item with a bar at the end, only if I'm not at the end of it, and then this counter is just checking if I'm at the end of it. Then print a blank line. Then go to next line and print a horizontal. Print a horizontal unless at the very bottom of the board. Okay, cool. So here we made a program with a tic-tac-toe board that's already been populated that will print out that board with the information in it. And yeah, I mean, it's like looking pretty rad. Why didn't that run? Run. Hey, why? Oh no. Ah. I'm so glad I did that. Okay, good. So I just put an O in the final item of a list, and it didn't print. It should be printing right over there. And I was like, what's going on? It's because this will stop me from printing the bar at the end if I'm at the end of the list, right? If the item counter is less than the width, or is equal or greater than the width, I will not print that end bar. But along with the end bar, I also was printing the items. So I'm skipping all of these at the end here, right? I can put X's and O's over here, and it won't print them at all. The program is working though, because if I put an X here, it will print over there. The issue is I need to say, if the item is less than the width, I'll print it with a bar. Else, we're just gonna print the, oh, look at this. We're even making it prettier. We're gonna print the item, and because we know it's the last item on the list, we don't need to do an end to stop it from going to the next line. We can just print the item and get to the next line, and that gets rid of this next line one over here, because I'm already moving to the next line in this else. Oh, beautiful. Look at that. Slightly more elegant. Amazing. And we're not going to the next line anymore because we already went to the next line. Print a horizontal unless at the very bottom of the board. Great. I think I can put this all in one comment now. Yes. No. All right. We'll leave it like that. And this will, except for final item on the list, which will go to next line. Maybe I'm doing too many lines for my comments, because when I zoom all the way out here, like I would really have it like this and the comments could go a lot further, but for the zoomed in version, I did it. Okay. So finally, now that we did that, when we run it, we should be getting that stuff over there. I'm so glad that I found that error. I would have been very sad for this video to go out with an error like that. That's a massive error, right? It was only printing the first 2 columns. So that's how we got our Tic Tac Toe board to get printed. Next video, we'll talk about varying sizes of Tic Tac Toe boards, and what we made here should work for any size, right? We can play Connect 4 or, Connect 5 or whatever. Yeah, cool. I'm sorry. I think this video was really long. I'm sorry about that.